Hey guys, it's Ross, and I got a really important topic, interesting topic to talk to you guys about today. I mean, I've been trying to really come up with interesting ways of growing food in a dense space here in my backyard. I do have some land here, but the growable space that I've been allowed to grow in is not too big. This is really not that much space. I know there's a lot of you guys out there that have a lot less space than I do, but the point I'm trying to make here is that we need to grow densely for the most of you guys. I have lots of containers, so that's somewhat of a dense growing right there. But I'm taking this to the extreme here, okay? I'm really taking this to the extreme, and I'm going to talk to you guys about that in this video of what I'm going to do in this bed this year. Before I get into that though, guys, if you've seen more than 5 of my videos, I don't really like to ask for subscribers, but if you've seen more than 5 of my videos and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Give some of my videos a thumbs up if you like them. Anything would help, guys. Really just trying to inspire you guys to do interesting things, to do any kind of gardening at all, really. So I like to try these things, grow them myself, so that I can give you guys the thumbs up or the thumbs down, and then I can say, you should do this, and then you guys hopefully are taking my word for it, and I'm leading you guys in the right direction. I'm sure I don't always do. No one's perfect, but any inspiration that I can give to somebody is what I'm trying to do with this channel. So let's get on to more inspiration. All right, so in this bed, to get back to my previous thought, is that we're gonna do some real dense planting here, and these are going to be annuals that go in this bed. I had put a whole bunch of snap peas in here April 1st, and then I had come in here with some more mature plants that I had started indoors, and planted these guys, like tomatoes, in their place. And we chopped and dropped the snap peas. There's still a lot growing in the bed, but a lot of this now is degrading. You can see the root nodules in the ground or in this bed are still there, fixing nitrogen to the surrounding plants. They probably have already released their nitrogen into the soil, which is really nice. It's a nice little bonus there of multi-stacking functions, and also getting a crop and then being able to use that same space for a second crop right after that. So we did some dense planting that way. We also have some perennials in here, such as alpine strawberries that I've mentioned in previous videos. But for the most part, this is an annual planting here that once I had put in the warm-loving crops, once we got to about mid-May here in Philadelphia, the soils really have warmed up now, and things are starting to grow well. Things are starting to flower. And what I'm doing with these annuals that are heat-loving crops now that the snap peas have been cut down, we are training them as single-stem plants. And we're going to train them all up these poles. So you've probably been wondering, what the hell, for the first 2 minutes of this video, what the hell is he been doing with all these poles, So that's pretty much it, is that I have planted a whole bunch of seeds or started plants indoors, like these cucumbers here, and we're training them as single stem plants that will eventually grow upwards along the pole. And that's it. That's the goal here, guys. We have things like melons. This is watermelon here, I believe. This is another watermelon here. This is some cantaloupe down there, or honeydew. We have, every pole is dedicated to a particular plant. We have lots of honeydew, lots of cantaloupe in this bed. We have some corn that's also in this bed, pretty close spacing on them. The corn obviously not being trellised up a pole, but you can see here, guys, what's going on is that every single pole pretty much has a plant associated with it. So Now, what I'm doing here by training them up the poles as a single stem plant is that we are going to have lots of fruit or lots of vegetables per the area that this is. So you could, I guess, grow a tomato plant, let that bush out, get a pretty decent yield in that tomato. But the yield is much better, and they've been doing this a lot in greenhouses. A lot of farmers and market gardeners have been doing this, where they're growing their tomatoes up a string, actually, in the greenhouse. The string comes down, and they wrap the string around the plants and tie it up, and the plants grow up the thing, and they really reach quite high heights, and they have a very nice density and yield from that space, right, guys? I'm sure some of you have seen people do that. Well, the same thing has been happening in different parts of the world, that other market gardeners are doing the same thing. So I'm not writing the book on this here, guys. This has already been done. But a guy in England named Charles Dowding, he's doing the same thing with eggplants. He's growing them as single stem plants up the pole, and he's also doing cantaloupes and honeydew up the pole, and he's also doing tomatoes up a wire, up a string. There's a guy named J.M. Fortier in Canada. He's growing cucumbers up a string in his greenhouses. He's also doing the same thing with his tomatoes. I did the same thing last year with pumpkins, and I grew them up a trellis vertically. So if the greenhouse was a trellis, I grew it up the trellis here, not as a single stem plant, but I did grow them vertically to save space, and it worked quite well. I got about 4 pumpkins out of that one plant. They were a smaller variety, so things like the melons and the watermelons and the eggplants, well, I guess not the eggplants, they don't have to be smaller, but something like a pumpkin certainly should be a variety that you choose that is smaller, so that when you grow this up the pole, this pole can hopefully support that. Now, these poles are not the most sturdy things, okay? What I could do is take some rebar, drive it into the ground, and put this pole directly over the rebar. This is an EMT post here. You can get it at Home Depot. And I find this is going to be a pretty good way. I did this last year with tomatoes, and they seem to support themselves pretty well on the pole. So I think the tomatoes should be fine, but things that have lots of fruit on them, lots of weight to them, maybe I'm expecting maybe the pumpkins or the the melons may have a problem with just how sturdy this exactly is. So a friend of mine had suggested to me, and maybe it's definitely a better idea, 100% a better idea, but since this is already a raised bed, you could attach some wood paneling to the side here and have that wood paneling go all the way up to the top, just like these other ones here, 10 feet tall, and then have another wood paneling going up across the top and kind of create an arbor, create sort of an arbor-like structure. And then what you'll do is at the very top, you'll attach the string, just like the market gardeners do in their greenhouses, attach a string, wrap it around these plants. And honestly, that's a better way to do it. But I like the fact that this isn't as permanent. I will always have these EMT posts. I'm sure they will serve a purpose for my garden in the future. And that's just something I can't really do, is build the structure that my friend Chris had recommended, which is honestly a better idea. So anyway, guys, that's just 2 different ways to do it. There's many different ways to do this. You could grow them up a trellis as an example, and let them bush out up on a trellis. Why let a tomato plant take up a 5 by 5 foot space, or why let a cucumber plant take up a 3 by 3 space? Why let an eggplant take up a lot of space as well? And even in more extreme cases, let a watermelon or a pumpkin or a melon just take up a 30 by 30 foot space. It just doesn't make sense. I don't have the land for that. I don't have the ground for that. I don't have the beds for that. So why not just grow them up vertically on a pole and get a pretty good yield? So at the end of the season, guys, I'm going to keep you guys updated. We're going to come back to you and we're going to check out what the yields are like. We're going to check out the plants. We're going to check out the health of these plants, because not only do the plants produce more fruit per plant in a smaller area, but they also, maybe not more fruit per plant, but they produce more fruit in an entire area than one plant would just sprawling along the ground. But not only do they do that, what I'm saying is that they also have a greater disease resistance, because what we're going to do is prune them from the bottom up. And every time they fruit, they put out a cluster of tomatoes that fruits. We clip off the tomato cluster, we clip off the leaves, and the plant slowly gets taller and taller, and the bottoms that usually have the soil-borne diseases are no longer an issue. So we're raising that up, we're increasing the airflow in the bottom. It's just a win-win. You know, we're also increasing the sun that is penetrating into these plants. We're warming up the soil much more because we have them in a raised bed. We're really doing a bunch of functions here and putting them on top of each other and creating something that I think is going to be really well worth doing in the future. So anyway, guys, that is the video, and I hope you all enjoyed this one. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, and of course, subscribe. We'll see you guys for the next one. All right, take care.